Hey, welcome everyone to the third version of Talking to Unicorns, which is where I basically talk to Unicorn Factory freelancers about what they do as a freelancer, and also kind of just get to hear, some tips and tricks for any of you who are thinking about getting into freelancing. And today, I'm having a chat with Alex, who is a digital marketer from Wellington. We actually met a while back when we lived in the same suburb of Wellington. Alex, how are you doing?
Good, man. It's good to be here. I feel like we're feel like we're all matching your kitchen splashback. It's like maroon. I'm wearing a maroon shirt. It's just good.
Yeah,
It's good,
it's
man.
been for sure. It's been like my kitchen has been like the best background I have to start this little video series. But eventually, I'm going to go back to the office and it will look a bit more professional. But yeah, how have you been? How's everything been since the whole lockdown started for you?
Yeah, it's going good, man. So it's me, Alex, and my wife Hannah, and we have a little daughter, Savannah, and she is 4.5 months. So she's a little cutie, growing quick, and they're just on a walk now, which is great. But yeah, it's been definitely quite different, eh? I mean, so today we're just into level 3, and so sort of sounds like cars are driving again. People are out enjoying themselves, getting a coffee, and yeah, it's definitely been a crazy week. 5 weeks. It's been a good time to just rethink some things and have a bit more time to strategize and just have fun. So yeah.
Awesome. So can you just give us like a little bit of a rundown of like what it is you do, what kind of areas that you like kind of industries that you focus on, all those types of things, so that we can have a little bit of context around like, what your freelancing life looks like.
Yeah, cool. I mean, the freelancing life, what it looks like, I guess it's summed up in the name, and any freelancers watching this, you'll know it changes all the time. I've just made quite a big pivot, to be honest. So I'm a digital marketer, specifically focused on Facebook ads on the Facebook platform and crossing into Instagram. But helping businesses really just scale online through their online advertising. But made a big pivot lately to help real estate agents. Which has been really, really cool, helping real estate agents alleviate the pressure of the acquisition on the back end so that they can, focus on what they really love doing, which is working with clients and setting up deals that win. So that's been really cool. Yeah, that's sort of what has changed lately.
Oh, cool. So what was it that made you want to switch? So just to clarify, you're like a digital marketer where you worked more with like a wide range of businesses and a wide range of industries. And then over the last month, you've switched more towards focusing on real estate.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, I guess a bit of the backstory was that at the start of the journey, and I guess up until a month ago, it was working with any business that was keen to, put a strategy around their business online and begin to see some growth take place. And it was quite fun working with a broad audience. But with broad audiences comes the skill, I would say the art of having a broad messaging, to your clients and creating products and services that I guess could serve anyone. And the idea of sort of niching down, for me, it was sort of going to empower me to know who I'm talking to, know how I can serve them and get them results. And so at the start of the year, took on a large real estate client and just started to get to know the world of how an agent operates during the week. These guys are crazy. They're weapons. Real estate agents have an insane lifestyle. And I just thought, wow, I could get these guys some quick wins that could alleviate a lot of unnecessary pressure that would actually enable them to do better. And so I guess you could call it I've niched down. And niche down for me just means that I can serve my specific clients like in a really rewarding way. So yeah.
Huge. I completely agree, because when I got into marketing, I had the same type of approach. The thing is, I didn't niche down on like an industry at the start. I niched down more on like what I do. Like when I started, I was like a marketer that did like SEO and AdWords and this and this and this and this and this. And my experience with it was, especially if I started focusing purely on Facebook advertising work, is that you could actually promote your service is specifically around like that little segment of what you do.
Yeah.
Definitely a good
I guess,
strategy. So what is the process now? So how have you like spent this month pivoting from being like more of like a generalist marketer to like focusing on that niche? Like, what are the steps that you've taken?
yeah, well, I think it's a good point that you made. I guess there's two opportunities to niche down in your offering, and then niche down in the clients that you serve, like you were saying. And I feel like I took both of those moves as well, because I used to offer a lot of branding, like actual print and digital design, and then I came to a similar conclusion to you of coming just specifically into the Facebook space, and then now I've made that jump down to specifically serve real estate agents, and over this last month, because there's a lot of normal daily routine that's different. We weren't going to get cafe coffee and going to meet with friends, so there was a lot more time freed up to actually go, how can I serve a specific group of people better? And so I've just spent my time actually just refining, what do I actually offer? How do I achieve it? And can I sort of do that at scale, I guess, in a way, instead of sort of reinventing the wheel each time I onboard a new client, and there's ninjas out there. There's people who are absolute weapons. They can just take on any different industry and pump it out, which is great. But for me, it was like, how do I serve people well and at scale? And for me, I just spent the last month just going, all right, fleshing out a lot of the processes just within my business. I think that's what I've done. I think when you're a freelancer or a business owner, you spend so much time, like, I don't know if it's a cliche saying, but you spend a lot of time working in your business that you don't have enough time to work on your business. And so I guess to answer your question, I've spent the last month working on my business, which has been really cool. Processes, how I serve and all of that stuff. So that's been really great.
I like what you said, that it's like that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because that's exactly what it is, isn't it? It's like every single time you go out and you like try to work with a different type of client in a different type of industry and offer them a different type of service, you kind of start from scratch every single time. And there's only so much time in the day that you have to actually come up with stuff. Yeah,
totally. It's a hard conversation, to be honest, because for me, like, I really enjoy the delivery. So I actually enjoy getting into the process of building out campaigns, testing, creative, like trying to figure out, how can we get some wins for this client? I enjoy that. But for me, it's hard because my other huge love is actually working with the client directly in the strategy space. And so I think the reason why I haven't niched down, up until now, is because I actually kind of enjoyed taking on different clients, because it engaged my strategy mind. So I was like, oh yes, like, how do we get results for a restaurant? And then how do we get results for a startup app? How do we, I kind of liked that process, but I was just I just came to that conclusion. I just want to serve people better. And I think the way that I could do that was pick an industry and just go for it. So, yeah.
Nice. Epic, man. So how, like, just to like change things a bit, it's like, can you like give me a bit of a rundown of how you stumbled into the marketing world in the first place? Like, did you get straight into freelancing out of school, or like what was your journey to get started?
It's funny, the classic high school pitch. At college, I was stuck in like that sort of, you have to do the academic approach, which is totally, like, anybody who knows me knows that I'm hugely creative and like social and all of that sort of stuff. But the subjects I did at school were like physics, calculus, math, like all this stuff. And I was like, man, what was I doing? But when I left school, I realized, oh man, I want to do creative stuff. So I did like a short stint of photography. I did a few weddings, which was quite cool. And then one of my first jobs was working for a print house. So I was actually started off as like running emails and just doing small print jobs. But then they took me on as a designer. And so I was doing graphic design, and that was awesome. So that was kind of my first creative, I guess, career, was jumping into the graphic design space. So that was my first, I guess, contact with marketing in general. And I just loved the idea that you would sit down with a client who wanted to make, their product come to life, and then you would just chat with them around how we could break it down and actually develop something. And so I think that's probably where I first fell in love with the idea of business and like marketing. And then that was in Nelson, and my wife and I moved to Wellington. And so it was sort of a space of like, why don't I try something new? Why don't I sort of widen the horizons and see what's out there? And a really good friend of mine who still lives in Wellington was in the Facebook ad space, working with e-commerce product stores, helping them with their campaigns. And so I just reached out and I was like, man, I've seen what you're doing on the internet. I'm like, what are you doing? How does it work? Could I maybe get a conversation with you and figure that out? So he just got me started, sent me a course that I should do. I did the course, and it sort of just gave me surface level Facebook, I guess, ad manager how to do. And then I went out there and cracked into it. So yeah.
And so how, after you learned all those things, how did you get your first client?
So I guess it's like, the best way to learn and grow is definitely through experience. I mean, you need to know something, and it's not cringy, but it's hindsight, right? Like you look at your journey and you go, man, what was I even doing back then? But pretty much it was kind of like someone gave me, like a small tool set, and they were like, and they showed me like the service levels of like, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. And I was like, cool, I'm just going to go and give it a go. So I reached out to a few friends who are business owners back in Nelson, and one of them was an Italian pizza restaurant. And I was like, hey, let's just give it a go. And so I think we ran like a competition funnel, a giveaway, and some other campaign. And we actually ended up generating like heaps of like, obviously the competition leads went through the roof because everyone loves freebies.
Yeah.
But it was just the idea. I think we got like 57 people like over the course of this like trial. I did it for free, by the way. I was just like, hey, give me your ad account. Let me just try out these new skills I've got and we'll see what happens. And I think we ended up getting like 57 or so people come in for dinner, like over some course of time. I can't remember, but it gave me a chance to trial it out. And I just fell in love with it. The idea that you could help a business grow through campaigns. It was just like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So that was my first client. Yeah.
Effort. It's so crack. Like, I know what you mean, because like I still like have like the ad account setups from like my first few clients that I did work for, and like when you go over them, you're like, oh my goodness.
I know, even like the names of the campaigns, the audit, like the whole breakdown, you're like, man, this is like what is going on. But at the same time, like that's just I don't think you want to go out there with no knowledge. I definitely wouldn't support that. But I think that, that was someone giving me a go, and that was and I'll be like forever, I guess thankful for that guy being either really silly or just really like gracious and giving me the keys, because it's allowed me to be only a year and a half later and able to be, where I am now, which is still learning, still feel like I'm at the beginning, but definitely learnt a lot since selling pizza.
So like, even though you were not charging for the work that you did for the restaurant, were you nervous about screwing it up, or were you just
totally, because it's not just the money, that's someone's reputation, that's their business, that's their livelihood. So it's not just the fact that I was spending their budget. And by the way, it was just 3 weeks, so it wasn't a big lengthy like I think I ran it for 3 weeks, which was quite cool. And yeah, so I did a couple trials like that. Like the course that I did told me I should do that. I don't know where I sit with that. I probably wouldn't recommend doing free trials at this point in time, but that might be another conversation. But it gave me my get-go, and that was fun. So yeah.
Hey, honestly, like competition and like cheap lead gen campaigns is how every Facebook marketer got their start, eh?
Totally.
Okay, so one of the first big campaigns that I did was for a co-working space, and the campaign that we ran was, let's let someone work at a particular co-working space for $1 for the week.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of people that we got coming into the doors was crazy. But
what was the cost per lead? Were you making money?
Oh, well, like,
surely.
Well, here was my pitch. Here's how I kind of saw it playing out. Is so like we were getting like leads for like $2-3. It was like so cheap. Like, and we had a database full of people at the end, of people who were in Wellington and who were willing to spend a week in a co-working space. And we were getting so many people in the door that it was actually, the biggest problem was like keeping up with all the people coming in. But the one thing that I learned in hindsight after that is you essentially have a list of people who are willing to pay $1 for co-working. And even though that's a good way to like build attention for the brand, you still just have a list of people who are only willing to pay $1 per week. And if you normally charge $200 per week, then you're going to have issues when like the time comes and you say, hey, you want to sign up to like a $600 per month membership, and they're like, what? I just spent $1. There's no way we're going from $1 to $600 a month. But it depends. It's because that's the thing, is that that's where like the difference is between knowing how to use the tools and knowing how to build a strategy that ties into the business as a whole. And I think like when you get like people in for the first time, there is like definitely an element of strategy involved with it, but it's a lot of like, let's get the tools going, generate some good results, like, in the context of leads and stuff like that. But
I mean, it comes down to the conversation of like, I think it's funny, and every Facebook ad, every Google, every AdWords guy out there right now, guy or girl, knows exactly what we're talking about. Like those first accounts that you ran and you were thinking, man, how do we get engagement? But then it comes down, and very quickly, the conversation very quickly changes from quick wins and like names on a list to like, what type of names do you actually want on that list? Like you were saying, like, do you really want 200 people who want to pay $1? Well, probably not. You'd probably rather have 30 people who are dead keen, and it comes down to not just knowing how to use the tools, because at the end of the day, anyone can learn how to use the tools. And I think that a lot of business owners and people watching who own a business, they get thrown this message of like, you can do it yourself. And I think that's totally true, but it's not just about like the beauty of the art of being a marketer isn't just like, I know how to use the tools. It's, I know how to get the right result, through using these tools and all that sort of stuff. So
100%. I see that's the thing that I see a lot is like, well, how hard is it to set up Facebook ads? Probably not that hard, like you can probably learn how to do the tools, but it's like the context of how everything works together and fits into your business. That's the kind of stuff that takes a bit of time, I actually just realized now that I told that story that probably no one will ever hire me for Facebook marketing work again.
Me neither. Done. I'm done. I'm
pivoting to something else. Google ads now.
There is no like pizza restaurant ever going to hire me ever again.
So, hey, I want to get back into real estate again because I actually do have a few questions. And I think this is going to also tie into a bit around like how to run a freelancing business or how to run a business in general. And one thing that I'm particularly interested about is like how, like the strategy that you take when it comes to pricing your services, because like I'd say real estate is like an industry where if you get a real estate agent clients, that can result in like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of commission.
Definitely very lucrative.
How do you think about it? Like, how do you think about your pricing when it comes to like helping people or real estate agents get leads?
Well, I think it's like, I mean, obviously, something I learned from the beginning, and to be honest, there were a lot of client meetings that are like a new discovery call with a client last in the first year. There were a few clients where I went in with the mindset of, actually, I don't mind if I lose these guys. I just want to practice my price anchoring. I want to just see what ridiculous number could I throw out there. This isn't my end answer, by the way, but I want to go on a bit of a journey. And what surprised me is that the price definitely comes down to the level of value that you've communicated. So it's like, if you do a poor discovery call and you don't convey value, you don't really get into like the needs analysis of their situation and then, present a solution, then it kind of doesn't matter what number you put out there. They'll think it's probably too high, or they'll just think that's not worth it. But if you like present value in such a way where it meets their needs, and then you've given them a strategy and an out like an outworking of how we could achieve that, then you can almost put, I guess, any number. That opens up another conversation on, I don't think it's just about the return you're bringing the business. It comes down to, I guess, like a moral thing as well. It's like, just because an agent's making like X to X, $5,000 to $20,000 on a deal, it doesn't mean you have to go out there and, headhunt them and sort of present a price. But you're sort of going, hey, I want to alleviate the pressure from the back end of your business so that you can do what you love. What would that, what would you pay for that? And you're sort of trying to build value and alleviate pressure. I feel like that's how you price stuff. But it's so different, man, because every business owner, every product, every industry is completely different in what they offer and the way that even their costings of the business is structured. And so for me, pricing is all about connecting the value that you can offer and the goals that they want to achieve. And when you bring that together, that's sort of where I would find my price.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So one thing that I heard you bring up quite a bit in this, and this is like a huge one. This is one that I see a lot of the times, is it sounds to me that like you choose your pricing based on the value that you contribute to the overall business. Other people think that the easiest way to evaluate value is how much time and effort gets put into it.
Yeah.
And I see like a lot of freelancers who do that today. Like they charge by the hour or they charge by the day. And like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you feel like value pricing is the way? Do you feel like there are instances where like charging by time makes more sense?
I think that like it is, and it's such a hard conversation once again because everyone's so different. But I think you're, at the end of the day, your pricing should always come back to being based on value. I think when I was a graphic designer, everything was time. I think it was something like, $72 an hour to design. Now, the problem with time-based design is that you might reverse engineer a product. Like, let's say you are, like when I was a designer, it would be like, hey, we need an identity package with logo color. We want a brand guideline so that we can go to a web guy. They give you their list of products. Then a designer will probably try and reverse engineer, like, oh, how long would that take me? Blah, blah, blah. This is how much. And then they come up with this price based on time. But then when you present that like hourly rate to a client, then one, you get punished if you work efficiently. Because if you work really flat, let's say you get, like when you're a designer, when you're creative, sometimes ideas take 10 years and sometimes you get an idea in a minute. Like you have a dream and it's like the perfect idea. And so like if you're pricing hourly and you finish that job in 3 hours, then you can only charge them for that. But if you tell them, oh, hey, I've finished the project, it took me 280 hours because I really put love and time into it, you're probably going to have a very interesting conversation with that client. And they may not want to do it. So I think that value-based pricing is the way to go because it means that it's like both parties are getting what they need. Mm-hmm. But I think that value-based pricing, though, it comes from clarity. Like I think that around like your service and your product, and that's what I've been able to find over this last month, is actually like heaps of clarity around like who do I serve, how do I serve them, and how do I go about it, I guess, and what sort of value would I put around that service. I know it's a hard conversation. I don't know if that makes sense.
For sure. I mean, and it's like you said, it's so different from industry to industry, which again is another fantastic argument for niching down into one particular industry, because then you don't need to think about this stuff all the time, I think salespeople do the same thing. It's like they get like a good understanding of like how much money they can make in an industry, charge a commission rate based on, value generated. So yeah.
And I've done that too, like for Facebook ads, I've done a monthly retainer based on service and then a commission of the return on ad spend. Mm-hmm. I've done that sort of structure too. If you want to come because I think that another conversation to be had as well is that it shouldn't just be the business that has all the risk. Yeah. I think a lot of the time it's like the freelancer and stuff, they don't have much risk at the front end because they're I guess, offering a solution and then asking for a price. And then the business has to come up with this, I guess, like risk factor. I think there should be risk involved, but another way to do it is do like a monthly retainer plus like a success fee, because in that way, the retainer might be slightly lower, but if you get results because you believe in what you can do, then you get compensated on the back end as well. So there's so many different pricing models out there, but I would stick away from hourly, because you only have however many hours in the week, and you don't want to get into a mindset where your time is like under someone else's control. I think that you want to be able to build value and build a lifestyle as well, because freelancing should be enjoyable in a way where you're helping your clients succeed, but you're also like enjoying your week as opposed to being like slave to a clock.
I love it. There are like so many more things that I could dive into here, but I do want to use like the last few minutes to talk specifically about like some actionable things that you could do if, say, I'm finishing university and I want to jump into like the world of marketing. What are like some things that you think would be helpful to know, first steps to take if I'm a young guy or girl who wants to step into the Facebook world or marketing world for that matter?
Yeah, I think that one, if you're watching this and you're still at uni, start networking now. Networking can look like so many different things, but just start some conversations. Like, you never know, like the power of a conversation, the power of a network. What's that quote? Your value is based upon not your net worth, but your network. I've heard a quote similar to that, where actually like your value in life can come from actually the people that you know and you're connected with. So I would straight away, whether you're in uni, just finished, or you're 2 years out still trying to figure out what to do, just start networking and build people around you. Like, I networked with Connor, and he's just been a great guy that I can, even in my world, that we have great convos, and we could probably go for hours talking about stuff, but we don't have hours. But I would say start networking, reaching out to people, and just, it doesn't have to be like, hey, I want to work for you. It could just be like, hey, can I pick your brains on how this works? Or I would just start combos. I'm a big advocate for networking. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that just pick to go. Like some of the people that I look up to the most in the business world, who are hugely successful, and I'm like, okay, would love to be, like I'm inspired by their lifestyle. They're all way clear of their 20s. Most of them are out of their 30s and they're in their 40s. And so reason why I say that is, you don't have to wait till you're in your 40s to be in your success. But a lot of those guys spent years actually just trialing stuff, actually just going, hey, I'm going to give this a go, and then just give your 100% effort to it. And then don't be afraid to pivot at another stage. So I would just say, stop thinking, like get your options, but then just pick something, pull the trigger, commit yourself to it, and then be okay to pivot later down the track.
That's a great one. This is like one where I'm like, makes a difference between people who like really take off and not. It's that commitment, eh? It's just like figuring out what you want to do, commit to it. If it doesn't work, sweet, all good, but at least give it your full commitment for a certain period of time until you know.
Totally. I mean, if I could say, this last 4 or 5 weeks in lockdown, I have been very, very scared to verbalize that I am niching down into real estate. Yeah. Because it's not because I'm not confident in my skill set and the value, but it's like making big decisions can just be really scary, and it can end up holding you back. But for me, I'm just like, actually, you know what? I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to give it my everything, and see how it goes. Not in like a hopeful way, but like hey, I'm just going to commit to this decision. I'm going to give it my all, wake up each day and make decisions that add towards that journey, and then change if it needs to change later.
Nice. Amazing. And just with the networking, what's the best, like, what's like that first step? Is it like cold email people, cold call people? What are the kind of things that you think are like quite easy to do? Maybe also for like naturally introverted people.
Yeah, I think it's the whole networking thing's hard right now because there's so many like I guess there's so much cold messaging going out there. There's a lot of business owners getting hit up by from all kinds of sources. And so sometimes sending that email, they might not reply. And I think you've just got to be okay with that. Like for me, there's lots of people, I go on LinkedIn and I just, business owners, reputable business owners here in Wellington who I actually look up to and would love to learn from. There's a lot of them that don't reply, and that's either because they don't check their inbox, they just don't want to meet up, or it could maybe my wording didn't look legitimate. But I would definitely cold message people. Cold messaging's got an interesting tie to it, but I would just reach out. Like I probably reach out to about 5 different people a week, just people that I come across on all my different news feeds, and I just go, man, that guy's cool. I'll just comment, I'll just reach out, I'll just message, say, hey man, it looks amazing what you're doing. Would love to hear more. Just trying to always learn. I think that's the key to networking. Just come as a student. Don't come as like trying to be too level or above. You should totally approach people in the networking world like, hey, I want to learn from you, as opposed to like, hey, we could do a thing,
Yeah. And honestly, people are like, yeah, of course people don't respond. I don't think they don't respond because they disrespect you or they look down to you. Sometimes people are just really, really, really busy and they just don't have the time to do it. And so not getting a response is not a loss. It is just like, wrong timing maybe, or whatever it is.
It's like, stop messaging people at 1 a.m., message people during the day. But yeah, I agree with that. I think the key to networking is just to do it, give it a go, be genuine, be yourself, and keep the first message very short.
Yeah, nice. No essays with like, here's the services that I offer. That's what I get on LinkedIn, and it's like, they don't even say how I'm doing. They're just like automatically they are offering me services. I'm like, oh. Okay.
I was gonna say we should both open up our LinkedIn inboxes because it's just full, man, of like. Anyway, that could be a whole nother series.
Oh, for sure. Well, I definitely want to jump back on a call with you in the future and talk specifically about networking, because I think that is a crucial area, something that takes people a lot longer to get into because it is stressful. But we don't have the time for that today, and I feel like it's a topic that deserves its own kind of like video. But Alex, I want to thank you for your time. I'm going to wrap this up here. How can we find you? Besides on the university.
Well, in level 3, you're not meant to find me, in person. But if you want to find me digitally, the best place, man, is just to jump on Instagram. To be honest, it's alexsiale.nz, and would love to have a chat there.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Alex. This was episode number 3. We're going to do a few more of these. I love catching up with the freelancers and hearing their stories and all that kind of stuff. But if you have any feedback, any comments, let us know in the comments down below. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Bye.